Good morning everybody, welcome back to cilinixfxcapital. Hope you're all doing great and welcome to this new video right here on XRP. And I have good news, alright? XRP actually is showing some positive price action right here, and we predicted it, alright? I've told you for the majority of last week, I'm actually relatively optimistic about XRP. And yes, that means optimistic about the lower time frames, right? I mean, again, if you look at the higher time frames, for XRP, there's still a lot left to do right here if we actually want to rally again. But on the lower time frames, I told you yesterday still that I thought it was most likely we would be able to get a move into 2.55 and 2.6, and that is where we are right now. So that's also what we'll talk about in this video. I really wanted to focus on, you know, how high can we get, and do we potentially have a chance to break out? I know it's blasphemy to talk about a breakout already because I mean we haven't even hit the 30-day rolling VWAP yet. I apologize. And I told you yesterday as well that I thought a breakout was not most likely. I'll evaluate that thought again in this video. But yeah, so as expected, I mean, yesterday we got this, in the morning we got the beautiful move here above the point of control. And some volume, or at least some momentum as well. You can see, you know, the volume right now compared to the volume when XRP is really bullish is quite low, right? So that's also why I said yesterday I think a breakout is unlikely. Only if we have very high volume, if we're nearing the major level that we need to break out above, which in my opinion at this point of time on the lower time frames is 2.6, and at this point of time we still don't have that volume, right? So in that sense, like, do I think it's most likely we'll break out? No. However, on the positive side, there is some increased volume. We have been able to rally up to the top of the range without, you know, much resistance here. And outside of that, we're also gaining some leverage, which is, you know, if it's not too much, some leverage into the price is a good thing. And I would argue it's a good thing right now as well. And potentially most importantly, or at least what I think is most interesting, is that in the last 24 hours, look, I monitor the markets quite often during the day, right? It's so some of you might say it's boring, but it does, you know, it does provide me with a solid income because I know what's going on. And what I've seen in the last 24 hours is that there have actually been two instances where XRP and XLM as well, by the way, that both of them are outperforming the markets, and that is something that I value a lot, right? So here you can see the relative performance. It's very, you know, up and down right now, and XRP is also not outperforming at this specific point of time. But we saw yesterday early afternoon, I think, and yesterday evening that both XLM and XRP, which are very correlated, were outperforming the markets, and that is something I do want to see. And ultimately that makes me, you know, slightly more bullish when we're talking about the medium term here. So when we're talking about the rest of October going into November, that actually does make me relatively optimistic. Now on the lower time frames, look, we've had a solid move into the upside right here, but there's major resistance coming up between 2.64 and 2.6. I'm relatively bullish short term on the crypto markets, so I do think that XRP can rally into that level. But we left a lot of imbalances to the downside, and leaving imbalances to the downside is fine as long as there's a lot of strength behind the move. And if we look at the move right now, I would argue there's not a lot of strength. There's not a lot of volume. There's not a lot of open interest. There's no narrative yet. All right, so for that reason, I would say short term, it's actually quite likely we will rally a little bit higher. But I do think we're close to finding resistance, and I do think we're going to fill some of those imbalances at 2.45, potentially at 2.43, which looks like a decent buy area, but that's not a call, not a signal. I'll have to research that a little bit more before we actually have a chance to rally higher into 2.7 and 2.75, which, given the way that Bitcoin looks right now, and given the way the fundamentals around, you know, the crypto markets look, I would actually say that something like this for now is what I think is most likely on XRP. So I'll keep you updated on that, of course. And you know, today is Saturday, so do I really expect much price action today? No. But this is what I do expect for now. So hopefully that helps. But for now, those are my thoughts. Thank you for watching, everybody. Take care and bye.